I just started a business with the most famous finance YouTuber ever. None other than Graham Stephan. And recently, Graham and I did a podcast together talking about what we plan to do in this business and why we think it's going to be so big. Him and I have started a real estate fund together called Creator Properties. And the story about how we became business partners is pretty crazy. But instead of me telling you about it right here, Graham and I have actually talked about it on his podcast. So let's jump into that clip so you can see what we plan to do together.
And that's actually what Ryan and I have done, which is odd because it's I've wanted to when we had Alex Hormozy on here, he was telling me you got to do like a real estate fund.
Yep.
And I told him I didn't want to do the work on that because I've just seen how much work is involved behind the scenes of like managing it. I couldn't possibly do that. So when you reached out to me, it was actually really cool because I had talked to Brandon Turner about potentially partnering with him on a fund. Because I really like Brandon Turner a lot. I know he has a good eye for things. Mm-hmm. And we had a good talk, and you know, he is just so inundated, and he just like, I can't do anything. Like, so when you called me and said, hey, I think we could work together, I was really excited about it.
Yeah, dude, I was too. So it's funny because I've talked to Hormozy quite a bit, him being here in Vegas and stuff. And, you know, somebody had sent me the podcast you did with him. They're like, dude, Hormozy's telling Graham he needs to start a fund. You know, you should reach out to Graham. And I was like, all right, let me go watch this. And so, you know, I watched it and I'm like, all right, Graham, dude, are you ready? Like, and then you're like, yeah. It was just like a very quick thing.
Yeah, I said, give me 24 hours.
Yeah.
Because I had told Brandon Turner that he had priority.
Yep.
And I wasn't going to do anything without Brandon Turner's permission on that because I didn't want to feel like, you know, I remember like going around someone, so I called him.
Yeah.
And he spoke very highly of you, by the way.
Yeah, Brandon's the man.
Yeah.
I love Brandon, dude. We, I mean, I've said this on Bigger Pockets and, you know, just with him, like, he's the reason I've been able to have success in real estate. Like, it was his book I read. It was his podcast I listened to that gave me the start. And so, you know, I'm forever grateful to him. And then being able to, you know, I've been to Hawaii multiple times and hung out with him. And he's always like, dude, if you ever want to come, the basement's open. Like,
his place is so cool.
Yeah. It's
nice.
He's the man.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so it's funny because he, you know, we all share the same lawyer. We were just talking to our lawyer Monday, mm-hmm. right? And he had been telling me to start a fund at some point. And then my other friend told me, and I'm like, all right, fine, we're going to do this. And so last year we did it. And, you know, we've bought 460 units there. And then, you know, when I saw Hormozy's podcast with you, you know, I reached out and I'm like, look, I think there's a way that we can do this even bigger. You know, if we work together, we've already got all these relationships with all these operators and guys finding deals across the country. And in fact, you know, we turned down a lot of deals that I think would be great for a different fund because, you know, for us, we want the pieces of crap that are just so beat up. And like, you know, the last thing we bought was 126 units. It's literally zero vacancy, or it's zero occupied.
Zero vacancy.
Yeah, no, zero occupied.
Yeah.
There's no one there.
Yeah.
And like, we like it. We want to fix that up and make a lot. But there's a ton of great deals that, you know, are doing well. And there are ways to add value to them. But like, we just were like, man, our thing is, we want to go with these home run type deals, but there's so many doubles out there, doubles, triples that could become home runs too if we just took them down. And so that was when I reached out to you. I'm like, I think if we partnered, your audience would eat up these deals that we're just turning down that are great. And so, dude, I think we're going to do a lot of good stuff.
Because I was telling Ryan too, I would much rather a safe, predictable return than something that's a home run 10 years from now. I would just rather just feel better about consistency.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I'm so excited about it because we are getting sent those all the time. And there's, I mean, right when we, you know, we're like, let's do this. And we start working on the paperwork.
Fast. I was blown away. Within 24 hours, you're like, all right, we're going to get all this done.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, you're like, here's the paperwork.
Yeah.
Like, not like that. Obviously not that tone, but like, here you go, Graham, sign it.
Here's our logo. Here's our website.
I was shocked how fast you moved on all of this. I mean, I wouldn't expect anything else, but like, it was faster than I thought was possible.
Yeah.
But then you brought us the deal in St. Louis. Can you tell us about that? I was telling Jack there's like a brewery in the bottom that I was really excited about.
Yeah. So this deal, and this is the beauty of having, you know, a coaching program and a big mastermind. So like my students are nationwide, right? And they're always hunting for deals everywhere. And so with them, you know, they have a harder time raising capital than you or I would have. And so this deal actually came from one of my students in St. Louis. He's flipping a lot of houses. He's a GC on commercial real estate projects and stuff. And he was like, dude, Ryan, you need to look at this deal. Like it's around like 80 units or something in St. Louis. And there's this really hip bar at the bottom that, you know, everyone, all the locals love going to. It's like renovated, it's super cool. And there's like this other space that's empty that we could, you know, do whatever we want with. It's also cool. And we started looking at the numbers, and, you know, I was like, all right, this is a really cool deal. Like, it's already occupied, it's stable, it's good. And, you know, there's some other things we can do to add value. And you and I were talking, and we had just, you know, finalized our deal. And I was like, dude, this would be a great first one for Creator Properties. So I'm excited about that one.
Yeah. Oh, that's the name of it. It's called Creator
I saw.
Properties.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
guys, if you want a hot take, I didn't like the name. I'm going to be honest.
No.
It sounded a little gimmicky.
No, really?
Yeah.
I like the name.
I'm just going to be honest. Yeah.
Because it could have a dual meaning. Like a creator is in a creator on YouTube or wherever, but it could also be like creators and like you're creating these opportunities.
Yeah. Well, Alex,
Can't win them all.
Well, you can't
You know
invest,
what?
Alex.
You know what, guys?
Yeah, you know what, Alex? We don't want you anyway.
I can't even invest in it. So
Yeah, you gotta
know,
be an
it's not-
accredited
maybe it's
investor.
Is that the requirement?
it's
Is being an accredited investor?
yeah, you have to be accredited investor.
And for those that don't know, what is an accredited investor?
So you got to have $1 million net worth, or
Income of $200,000 for the last 2 years.
yep, or if you're married, I think it's $300,000 the last 2 years as a joint couple.
And are there other ins potentially for those that don't meet those requirements? Because I may know someone.
So there's actually
Well, Jack, your house is worth $2 million, right?
Yeah, it's worth $2 million.
How do they verify that? I mean,
so we use third party.
okay. All right.
So we don't, you know, if you guys apply at Creator Properties, we're not going to verify. We're going to send you to a third party accreditation. They're going to be the ones who decide.
Got it.
Do you
I
guys
was
have
always
a
curious
Do you guys
about
have
that,
a
yeah.
minimum, like an investment amount?
Typically we do about 50K, just because, you know, at the end of the day, you don't want to have so many investors in one deal. Like, it's just more paperwork. It's
Right.
If you're an accredited investor, like, you should have more capital anyway.
Right.
So let's say I am an accredited investor. Why would I go and do this instead of just go and buy a property on my own and have all of that control?
Multiple reasons. So, you know, if you go and buy a house yourself, I mean, obviously you own it 100% and you're the one who has to deal with everything. You've got to find the deal, you've got to deal with the tenants, the maintenance, etc. Right? When you invest in something like this, we're going to find the deal, which we have, right? Here's the deal. You can choose whether or not you want to invest in it. We're going to manage it. We're going to, you know, renovate it, stabilize it, all this stuff. And it's really passive for you. Like, you don't have to do anything. And so that's the benefit for most people, like Graham. The reason he invested with Brandon in that deal is that, you know, he's not doing anything. Like, he's just like, take my money, multiply it, and I trust you. And so that's the benefit of a fund. Like, a lot of accredited investors that invest with us on these deals, most of them aren't always real estate guys. Most of them are doctors and, you know, even influencers or, you know, e-commerce people who are not in the real estate field, but have made a lot of money. And they don't know how to invest because they haven't made their money investing. They've made it like doing a job. And so for them, they wouldn't even know what to buy in real estate. And so they would rather just go with the experts and not do anything and focus on their job that actually makes them money.
And how do the finances work out for you? Like in the syndication, like how would it, so obviously you collect all of these people's money, you put it into a property, the property sells at a premium. How do you distribute the money after you sell the property, different percentage wise? I'm sure you guys have some sort of, you know, bonus or something that you guys take from the work.
Yeah. So we can break down just kind of how a typical syndication works. Yeah. So you have GPs and LPs. GPs are your general partners. These are the people who are, you know, me and Graham. We're finding the deals. We are underwriting them. We're getting everything prepared. You know, once we buy it, we're going to be the ones managing it, doing everything. Then you have the LPs, which are the limited partners. Those are the investors, right? Like they're not in charge of doing any of that. They just are in charge of putting their money up and then just kind of waiting and collecting checks on the meantime. So typically what happens is your GPs and LPs will split the deal in a certain percentage. I mean, it varies, man, just depending on how big the deal is. I mean, you might see deals that are 50-50, you might see deals that are 70-30, 80-20, like it really just depends on how good the deal is and how it's structured. But along with that, the LPs will also get a preferred return. And so, a typical preferred return is anywhere from 6 to 8%. And essentially, before anyone takes their profit split, the LPs need to be paid that preferred return first. And anything above that preferred return then gets split up depending on how that split goes. So for easy sake, let's just say it's a 50-50 split and the property's returning, 12% every month right now. Well, if you have a preferred return, what will happen is the LP will get 8% first and foremost before anybody. Then the remaining 4% gets split up 50-50 between the GPs and the LPs. And so what would happen is the LPs would make 10%, GPs would make 2%. So as the GPs on that side, we're making 2%. But we also make monies in other ways with GPs. I mean, we have an acquisition fee, a yearly management fee. But, at the end of the day, honestly, as a GP, the big payday is at the end. Like the 2% every month ain't doing much for us. But at the end, let's just say this St. Louis deal, I don't know, around $10 million. If it sells for $15 million in however many years, as long as the LPs got paid their 8% all those years and stuff, basically we would end up splitting the profit from that. And so that's how we make a bigger payday.
So the GPs would take, let's say, 2.5 million, split that amongst themselves, and then the remaining 2.5 million would just go to every LP investor.
Yep. And then the LPs have been making that 8% that whole time as well.
But of course, this is always subject to change if it's a different structure of a syndication.
Yeah. So like what would typically happen is like if a deal is more thin, we always want to make sure the LPs get like the desired return, right? So it's like, man, Graham is looking at like that 15% return on Brandon's deal, right? 15 to 20%. That's what he's looking at. He's not necessarily super concerned about, well, how much is Brandon making? He's like, oh, I'm making 15, 20%. Like, cool. And so like to structure a deal like that, you might have to give the LPs a big chunk of the deal. You might have to give them 80% to achieve that return that you're trying to get for them. But maybe you got like a super crazy deal and you don't need to give up that much because the deal is so good. You can split it up differently because everybody wants to invest in it, So it's just like anything else. It's kind of supply and demand, and you just kind of take it on a deal by deal basis and say like, okay, first and foremost, what's my LP's desired return, on this? And so how do we structure it to get them that?
And do the GPs put up any capital in the beginning to like own a certain percentage or whatever of the syndication?
Yeah. So obviously we have all of our startup cost with this and everything we're doing on the legal side and everything. So we front all of that. We front the earnest money deposits. In fact, I didn't even tell you this, Graham, but on the Arizona deal that we're doing, I just sent $100,000 for the earnest money deposit. So, we have those upfront costs. And then typically what happens is a lot of the banks that we're doing these deals with want to see skin in the game from the GPs. And so like in Graham and I's partnership, essentially we're going to put in whatever they want us to put in, equally. And so, on this deal, the banks might say, hey, Graham and Ryan, we want you guys to put in $100,000 each into this deal, for us to fund it. And so, we'll do whatever we got to do. And then we'll actually make, the preferred return on that 8% as if we were just investors on it too.
Yeah.
And when you do buy these big properties, you buy them with debt, right? So let's say you accept like $2 million and it's like a $5 million property or whatever, like take out a loan.
Yeah. Like let's just, the St. Louis deal, let's just say it's around $10 million total. We'll go and take a loan out for probably 70%-ish of it. So we'll get a $7 million loan. We'll go raise $3 million. And so that's kind of how it goes.
And all of the tax benefits and everything, is that dispersed amongst all LPs, or how does that go about?
So this is where you can get creative with it. You can totally just change how you want the depreciation and the taxes to go on a deal by deal basis. So, let's just say Graham and I buy so many deals this year because we're just crushing it and everybody's happy. What might happen is like, we're like, dude, we don't even need any more depreciation. Like we've got our taxes down to 0, which would be fantastic for Graham. Well, then we can just start saying, hey, you know what? We're going to start giving all of our depreciation to the LPs because we don't really need it. Like it would be a waste for us. So we can totally manipulate deals that way. Or if like, let's just say we want to make a juicier deal for LPs.
Right. Then you'd include that in the terms and everything.
Yeah, we would just manipulate it to give them more depreciation and tax advantages and structure the deal that way.
How do people that make syndications like screw over LPs? Because I know that to some people there could be kind of like a bad idea, bad connotation towards syndications. Why do you think that's there, and what is done in those situations that like can negatively, affect the LPs?
Well, with the type of fund we're doing, it's a 506c, so it's accredited investors only. So basically the reason that they do that is because like accredited investors are, big boys. Like they know what they're doing, and like they know that they're investing their own money at their own risk, and if they lose it, it's not going to be catastrophic. Like they're obviously doing pretty well. The reason they make it so strict on 506Bs, where they allow anyone and everyone to invest, is because those people, might not be as savvy or educated. And so, they hear Graham and they're like, dude, I want to put my life savings with Graham. I got $10,000. And then all of a sudden they're just like, dude, how's this deal doing? Like, cause it's their whole life savings. And so that's why you see most funds I don't even want to say most don't go that route, but like that's where you see a lot of the flack is when you deal with that side of it. Because most accredited investors are busy like running their businesses and their lives. Like they don't have time to, have you checked in like to worry about the mobile home park?
Oh, never.
Yeah.
No,
Like, and that's what most investors, that's why they're investing. But I would say to protect them, first and foremost, like they're getting the preferred return. So like they're getting that interest before anybody. So whatever cash flow is coming in, making sure that they get paid first on it.